not your typical spot for a World Cup quarter-final, but how are you enjoying, I suppose, being in the north and your time up here?
Oh, I'm loving it. Obviously live down in Papamoa by the beach, so to open up my curtains this morning and see the ocean makes me pretty happy, and it was nice arriving yesterday and playing a bit of back down cricket in the sun, which has been nice, but obviously being in the north and having some sun.
You obviously got the VIP view. I got the car park.
Yeah, of course. Got penthouse views over my side.
I think we could get the garden view.
Yeah, the garden view.
Must be the ranking in the team.
You're old, you're leaving soon.
What about for you, Kendra? Can it actually be quite refreshing for the team ahead of such an important game, obviously, and everything that comes with the World Cup quarter-final, to just have a bit of seclusion, a bit of time to yourself, just to hone in and focus on what's ahead?
Yeah, and I think that was the point of us kind of coming over this way. And it's, yesterday we got here and everyone was just like, man, this is cool. Everyone just seemed so relaxed, right from the get-go. And as Gossie said, we played a bit of cricket yesterday, not that we were very good at it, but,
Speak for yourself.
a bit of sunbathing, but at the same time, when it comes to the rugby side of things, we can just hone into ourselves and focus on us with no one else around. And like today, this morning, we already had a session and we're starting to do that. And, it's a very important week for the side and we're just looking forward to cracking into it.
Sarah was kind of mentioned, they've got to be a bit careful because the demeanour of the team is definitely relaxed, which is a great thing, but also making sure you don't relax too much, and with that in mind. Sounds like the sessions have been fairly intense, is that fair?
Yeah, I think always we know how to have a good time, and I think some of the coaching staff are actually surprised by that a little bit, but then we know when to switch on. And I think that's probably the good balance that we've got in this group, is we can have both. The coaching staff's serious enough. We don't need to be taking it too seriously when we're off the pitch.
As far as the intensity goes as well, we were kind of talking about, last time you were up against Wales, set piece, particularly in defence games, that little middling, and he kind of made the comment, well, the back's back at the hotel and the forwards are still out on the field, and that tells you all you need to know. So have you been putting through paces on the pitch today?
Yeah, Chrono was pretty tough on us after that first Wales game, and we knew we weren't good enough, and when we're now heading into finals of a World Cup, we need to be on every single time, and we'll be putting in a lot of work. Have a front row club, and not in that club, but we will be better.
Do you benefit, Kendra, from playing a team you've already faced in pool play? I know Kim obviously alluded to some of the work-ons, but overall, is it a good thing for this team to play the same team again, or is there a risk you fall into the trap of we beat them comfortably in pool play, that should follow again?
Yeah, I think that can happen, right? You kind of can get a little bit too comfortable, but we're not a team like that. We just go week by week. It doesn't really matter who our opposition is. Our focus is on ourselves, and I know the forwards they've got a bit of redemption that they want to give around the scrum. So they've worked on that this morning while us backs came here and had a cup of tea. But no, it is important for us is just to treat it like a quarter final. That's probably the main focus, because the last thing you want to do is be complacent and a team come and tips you over. So we've got work-ons from that game and from last week. We've been starting well or finishing well, and now we want to put in an 80-minute performance.
Probably already answered my next question for me, but obviously there is the potential for a semi-final with France that would follow, but it's easy enough to just not consider that for you guys and just to focus on what's in front of you? Yeah,
just week by week. You can't make a semi-final without winning a quarter-final, and that's our focus this week is Wales, and we're looking forward to getting out there and trying to put out an 80-minute performance and being the best team that we can. And we had a really good training session this morning, and we're still we're only early on in the week, and we just talked about there's a bit of an edge at training this morning too, which is always exciting leading into a quarter-final. So there's a bit of tension there, but we love that.
Sarah, I know you've kind of talked on social stuff about how stoked you were with the crowd that came out last weekend in Whangarei, obviously there again. How much are you hoping that continues to just keep build as we go through each week now at the knockout stages?
Oh, even you mentioning it again gives me goosebumps. I think looking back at that game will be some game that I'll remember for the rest of my life because of the atmosphere, because of the families that come, and just having an embankment full of people in the sun watching footy. I think it's probably we've probably gone away from those days, but hopefully women's rugby will revitalise that for the country.
Kendra, what's this whole experience been like so far? Touched on the crowds on the first day and last weekend, it was epic, wasn't it? How I guess exhilarating has this whole experience been so far? Yeah,
it's really special, and just with Gossie and talking about it now, I get goosebumps. For someone who's been around a very long time, that first game at Eden Park, and I don't think New Zealand understands or ever understand how much it means to the Black Ferns. That we've got crowds that we've got, and everyone's getting in behind us and enjoying it, and we just ask for that for the next 3 weeks. It's important. I think New Zealand needs to realise that a home crowd is super important to get the girls up, but it's been pretty special, and it's definitely a highlight of my career so far in terms of having that support, and someone who's worked in rugby outside of playing as well. It's something that I never thought was going to happen, so it's been pretty incredible.
And what's it like during the game when you hear that, particularly those roars that for tries or tackles or whatever? Because that's pretty telling, isn't it, during the games, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what's really cool, like when you hear those roars, like it's pretty special. You don't tend to hear a lot at times, but when you make a break or we score a try and the crowd gets in behind it, it just lifts you that little bit more, and that's what's been really cool. And all the girls are really enjoying it, and like even last weekend up here, we were just like, oh my gosh, we were driving in on the bus and everyone's taking photos of the crowd on the embankment, and we were just like, wow, this is awesome. So it just helps us get up for it.
The coolest thing about it is the kids like lined up around the fence line. Is there's so many kids yelling out all the girls' names, and when you're getting kids who know the players, who are turning up, obviously telling their parents they want to come to games, I'm like, you're just changing sport in New Zealand, and for us that's probably the most important thing.
How much have you seen that grow since you first started playing, maybe when you first came into either the 15s or the 7s environment to where you are now? How much have you seen that grow? Yeah,
it's a completely different, and I suppose with the specialness of this World Cup, it is a family. We've obviously the branding is it's a family reunion. We're bringing it back, and you can feel that. And yeah, for us, turning up to games is just having kids around watching. I don't even know where their parents are because half the time it's just the kids and they're yelling out your name and wanting autographs while you're still playing. So that, like, to me, that's massive for our sport. It's awesome.
Kendra, can I just ask as well for you, like, do you now go into the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks making quite a conscious effort to really treasure all that, knowing each game could be your last?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's something I've been reflecting on probably just since we've got here. Now it's quarterfinals, and I mean, even coming to the World Cup knowing it was going to be my last, but you just get so focused and so caught up in the business side. But at the same time, I've been telling myself to enjoy every moment, and you can see even just from that first game at Eden Park and last week, you can see the smile on the girls' faces. And for me, I'm just taking that little bit extra every time. And like we have club nights together, and I'm just sitting there reflecting on how fun that these girls are and how much I'm enjoying it. And now the quarterfinals are we're getting into that nitty gritty part of the competition. Every game is I want to make sure I'm soaking that up and enjoying it, because you never know what one's going to be your last, and we just hope that we're in that final at Eden Park. But it's week by week at the moment, and the first one is the quarterfinal, and then hopefully gear up for a semi next week.
Guys, there's a certain schedule clash on Saturday night that I'm sure you're aware of. Who should people watch, the All Blacks or the Black Ferns?
Well, that's a silly question, isn't it?
If you're turning up to the game, then you can only watch the Black Ferns and watch the All Blacks replay later.
Is it a bit disappointing that there is that schedule clash? I know it's a complicated beast, the rugby scheduling.
No, I think just at the end of the day, we're playing some really good footy, and we've attracted an awesome crowd across the country and across the world. So we're hoping that everyone gets in and supports us, and we ask that from New Zealand and the world. There's been some good footy on display, and to back us. And as Gossie said, watch the All Blacks on replay.
Did you think it would take off this much? I mean, I know you guys talked about how much you hoped it would, but to actually see it happen in front of you, did you actually think it would take off and resonate as much as it has?
I think that's probably the word, as we hoped it would, and we'd pushed, and I know a lot of people have put a lot of work into making sure it did, but as a player, knowing that it has is just probably another thing, another feeling. And yeah, I think the Eden Park game was special, but then turning up in Waitakere and seeing that was and then hearing, we're in town and you're in the sauna with a couple of people, and they're like, we didn't get to come to that game, but we'll definitely be at the quarter. So that's just the support's going to continue to build, and all we need to do is have some fun on the footy field and keep bringing people along.